US President Donald Trump has announced that the Strait of Hormuz is now fully open for passage and ready for business, signaling a major shift in maritime movement through the critical waterway. However, he also stated that a naval blockade targeting Iran will remain in full effect until ongoing transactions and negotiated points are fully completed. Trump also added that most aspects of agreement with Iran have already been settled and suggested the process could conclude quickly as diplomatic and security arrangements continue to develop. US President Donald Trump has announced that the Strait of Hormuz is now fully open for passage and ready for businesses, signaling a major shift in maritime movement through the critical waterway. However, he also stated that the naval blockade targeting Iran will remain in full effect until ongoing transaction and negotiated points are fully completed. Trump also added that most aspects of the agreement with Iran have already been settled and suggested the process. To further elaborate on that, we have Fahd Husain with us. Fahad, could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Fahad, could you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, Fahad, as we know, according to the recent development, the Iran has temporarily opened the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think this is a significant move by Iran?
I think this is the move that we were all waiting for. And I think it will not be wrong to say that the efforts that were being made by Pakistan, efforts that were being made by Field Marshal Asim Munir during his visit to Tehran, I think those efforts have paid off. This is a direct result of those negotiations, of that mediation. And I think Pakistan has really delivered at the most crucial hour. The strait has been opened, which means that Iran is now confident enough to go into an agreement. I believe that as a result of this, we can very safely say that the basic understanding between Iran and the US has taken place, in the absence of which Iran would not have actually gone ahead and opened the strait, because this was the biggest leverage that they had. So I think this is really good news. We are now, seems like, it appears that we are now nearing the end of this conflict, and I think the only thing left is the two sides getting together, most likely in Islamabad in the next few days, to sign an agreement. And this is the first formal acknowledgement that a breakthrough has happened, that the deal is now almost final. So excellent news for Iran, for the US, for Pakistan, and in fact for the entire world. As we can see, the price of oil has already started to come down. So It's a huge development, and I think the credit goes to everybody concerned, but especially to Pakistan and its leadership.
Yes, this is in fact a relief that Iran has given to the world as well by temporarily opening the Strait of Hormuz. So do you think that it will have an impact on global oil prices in short term?
Absolutely. I think that impact has already happened. If you look at the oil prices, they have started to come down. Already the markets are reacting very favorably. I think everybody in the world was waiting for this breakthrough. And the fact that Iran has now announced that traffic is going to be running smoothly through the strait is going to give a huge boost to investor confidence everywhere, to the flow of oil, and to markets which were nervous about whether an agreement would take place or not. I think now we are looking at a basic understanding which will lead to an agreement mediated and now I would say negotiated by Pakistan. So I think everywhere in the world there will be a sigh of relief. The real big breakthrough that we were looking for, it has happened right now. Again, one must add that things are not final till an agreement is signed. There could still be something that could go wrong. But I think the chances of that have diminished significantly. And I think the prospects of peace now breaking out have become much more brighter with the announcement by Iran that they're opening the Strait of Hormuz.
That's true, definitely, and we all are waiting for a permanent agreement by US and Iran on this. So, Fahad, as you have mentioned, that huge boost to investor confidence through the opening of Strait of Hormuz. Do you think that this decision could be reversed back in short term? Or there's a possibility of it being reversed?
Anything can go wrong. We know that these are high stake negotiations. There is a lot that will be part of the finer detail. We know that there is a big spoiler in all of this,
Yes.
who does not want this deal to go through. Of course, I'm referring to Israel.
Yes.
So the US will now have to make sure that Israel is leashed, that it is not allowed to play the spoiler or do anything which can in any way damage the prospects of peace that we are now looking at. But I do believe that this announcement by Iran would not have come unless and until Iran had some very strong guarantees that it would not end up getting a bad deal. I think that was precisely why Field Marshal Asim Munir was there in Tehran to not only act as a mediator, but to give confidence to both sides that this deal will go through and that it would be respected by both sides. So in that way, I believe that our role, initial role that led to the two sides coming to Islamabad in round one of talks, I think our role has now, in fact, expanded and enhanced. We are not just mediators now; we are negotiators. We are part of these negotiations, and in fact, I think it would be correct to say that the final agreement that will now take shape or may have already taken shape is a direct result of the last-minute efforts that have been put by Pakistan and its leadership. So it's absolutely wonderful news. We should just hope and pray that nothing goes wrong and that peace does actually break out and is formalized right here in Islamabad.
It's true. Fahad, I also want to ask this one last question for you. That after this, when we have seen this, the passage was blockaded and everything was, being haphazard in the Middle East. So how do you think this temporary, and hopefully it'll be permanent soon, so how do you think this will affect the overall stability in the region when it comes to the Middle East?
Well, I think it's going to really add to the stability, at least in the short run. The prospects of war have gone down. The fact that the ceasefire was about to expire in 3 to 4 days. I think that tension, that stress is now evaporated, because clearly now the ceasefire at the minimum would continue on, and the chances of Iran and the US firing at each other or shooting at each other, I think they've actually now almost disappeared, barring of course something completely unforeseen. So just because of the fact that the ceasefire was not temporary and that has been replaced by something which has more permanence than a 2-week-old ceasefire, will in itself, I think, inject a very healthy dose of stability in the entire region. And I think it will give everybody more confidence and incentive to sit down and thrash out the finer details and then sign the final document, hopefully, inshallah, in Islamabad.
So Erdogan has also lauded about the ceasefire, the president of Turkey. He also lauded for this ceasefire. So what do you think about that?
I think this is very important, because the first most important announcement came from the Iranian foreign minister, Sayyid Abbas Araghchi, which was followed by a reaction by President Donald Trump in which he said, "Thank you, Iran," which in itself shows you the mood that is prevailing in Washington, and specifically the way that Donald Trump is now looking at this step by Iran. And then, of course, the fact that now other key crucial countries are jumping in. Do remember that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is in Turkey, and he has played a crucial role in all of this, as has Field Marshal Asim Munir. So thanks to these two leaders, I think the world is now about to experience peace instead of war. And I think this is history in the making.
That's true. Erdogan did lauded Shabazz Sharif efforts for the ceasefire. Also, I want to ask, as you have mentioned before, we have been known now through Gulf countries as well as through the Middle East as we have emerged as a mediator. So how do you think, as far as Pakistan is reckoned, how important is it to maintain such kind of a role when it comes to Middle East or when it comes to the overall world? How important do you think it is to maintain such image throughout the world?
I think that's a really good question. And I say that because I think this is a game changer for Pakistan. This means that Pakistan is now a major player at the global stage. When we started this role, when we started mediating, there were so many countries that were saying that this was something that Pakistan could not manage, and they were casting all kinds of aspersions on Pakistan. But I think Pakistan has surprised pleasantly, I may add, the entire world. I think Pakistan is now the toast of the whole world, and I think Pakistan has managed something which no other country could, not just any country, but any institution, not the UN, not NATO, not any other alliance.
Exactly,
Pakistan
not even NATO,
alone.
exactly.
Not even NATO. So
Not
Pakistan
even.
alone, let me add, alhamdulillah, Pakistan alone has been able to do what no one else in the world could do. So I think this is a game changer for Pakistan. I think we are now going to be perceived and seen and treated as a major player in the world, and definitely in this region. And I think the dividends of what we have achieved are going to keep coming for a long time. We just need to now play our cards well, make sure that all of this process reaches its logical conclusion, that there are no spoilers, and that actually, in fact, Iran and the US can agree to an understanding and a framework, and of course, an agreement which is not temporary but permanent, and which changes the relationship between Iran and USA to the betterment of not only of those countries but for the whole region. And I think if that happens, which we all hope does, all credit, of course, after the US and Iran, credit will go to Pakistan. And I think we would have richly earned that credit.
That's true, and I also believe that Pakistan will maintain this image throughout the world, because it's really hard to achieve such kind of image in the Middle East, knowing that it's actually a country that has its own, issues, such as when it comes to the hegemony, when it comes to the sanctions and all. So the Pakistan emerging through that as a nation and being a mediator, when NATO also did not emerge through or push them through in the discussion. So that means a lot for Pakistan itself. Fahd, I also want to ask this one question, that the Strait of Hormuz is temporarily open. There were 3 pointers, right? The Strait of Hormuz is temporarily open. Now, the main thing is the nuclear weapon. What do you think about that? Will US agree to Iran having a nuclear weapon or not?
I think what looks like I think that will not be the case. The agreement would certainly have been led to Iran agreeing on some sort of a deal which would include them not enriching uranium beyond the stage that they already are. Now, obviously, we don't know what that agreement is, but if we were to take the Geneva talks as a baseline,
Yes.
it seems like Iran would have probably agreed to something close to what they had agreed in Geneva in February of this year. And if that be the case, then I think they would agree to some sort of a suspension of their enrichment of uranium in return for something very good for them, and that could either be a lifting of sanctions, or it could be the unfreezing of their funds, or it could be their right to some toll from the Strait of Hormuz, or it could be all three. We don't know what it is, but whatever it is has given Iran enough confidence to take this big step and open the Strait of Hormuz. So clearly, whatever has been agreed upon is substantive enough for Iran and the US to now move forward to the next stage.
That's true. We all want a permanent solution to push through that. Yesterday, there was a meeting in Pentagon where the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth mentioned about their power enforcement, right? They are working on that. For example, they have different ships and there are many strategies they have put online. So what do you think about that? Like, is that a threat to Iran or not?
I mean, yes, in the sense, as long as this ceasefire is holding and it becomes much more permanent and this understanding is there, then I think Iran is in a good position.
It is.
And I think then I think we will be in a position where I think we would be closer to an agreement that would serve the interests of both the U.S. and Iran. And I think one important point that we need to keep in mind is that at this stage, when this sort of an agreement is taking place, it should and probably will allow both Iran and the U.S. to declare that they have achieved their objectives. I think that is important because now, of course, the political outcome of this conflict has to be a win-win. Now, that's not always possible, but in this particular case, I think it seems like it will provide enough space to Iran to tell its people that it has actually won the war, and it would also provide some space to the U.S. president to tell his supporters that he's achieved the objective that he was started the war for. So I think that's what we are looking at. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how the final ultimate narrative emerges from this agreement.
That's true. Thank you